In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed west from Europe, searching for a better way to get to the spices of the Far East, particularly black pepper. In January the following year, things were not going well for the Genoese navigator. Two of his ships were taking on water. One of them had wrecked. His interactions with the indigenous people on the islands he'd bumped into had turned violent, and he hadn't found any of the spices he'd come looking for. On the day before Columbus was set to turn around and head back to Europe, he did find something that would transform the world more than black pepper ever could. Chilies. Columbus thought he had found some kind of super potent form of black pepper, and he brought it back to Spain, where he introduced it as such, which is why we sometimes call chilies peppers today, although the plants are totally distinct. Only chilies contain the chemical capsaicin that makes things spicy in the sense that they burn. And chilies are native only to the Americas, which is to say that in 1492, when Columbus sailed west for India, Indian food was not truly spicy. Neither was Thai food, Malay food, Indonesian food, Ethiopian food, any cuisine outside of the Americas. In time, chili spread to Europe, Africa, and Asia, and today, hot sauce in its many forms is the most widely consumed condiment on earth. But for all that people around the world love chilies and hot sauce today, the process of spreading them globally was not a peaceful one. Getting from Indian cuisine without chilies to spicy vindaloo was not a happy process. In fact, the word vindaloo comes from a Portuguese phrase, vinadalo. What we're really talking about when we talk about chili spreading around the world is European colonialism, with all of its attendant horrors and tragedies. In Amsterdam today, you can get great Indonesian food throughout the city, which is awesome, but there's a lot of misery contained in that fact as well, in the history of Dutch colonialism. In this way, chilies and hot sauce have always been intimately intertwined with the best of humanity, like vindaloo, and the worst. In the United States today, the hot sauce scene is booming. There's a tremendous amount of innovation happening in artisanal hot sauces, hot sauce shops, and hot sauce festivals popping up all over the country. Hot sauce is going viral under its own power. Did you know, for example, Hui Fong Foods, the makers of that sriracha sauce you love so much, has never had an advertising budget? The hot sauce movement has been growing for years, and in some places it's nothing new, like New Mexico, southern Louisiana. But nationally, a major cause of the hot sauce boom is the Immigration Act of 1965 and the ensuing wave of immigrants from places like Latin America, Africa, and Asia, places where people eat spicier. But it's not just the result of the sheer number of immigrants buying more hot sauce. Rather, it reflects the way those immigrants have transformed the fabric of American society. See, millennials grew up in a more diverse country than our parents did, with a more diverse array of cuisines than our parents did, many of them spicier, which is why we eat spicier food than our parents do, which is why we buy more hot sauce than our parents do. Whether you are descended from pilgrims or the child of immigrants, we are not just a different people because of the presence of post-1965 immigrants. We are different people. I'm a white guy from eastern Oklahoma, not exactly a traditional hot sauce hotspot. But when I'm sick, I don't want chicken noodle soup. I want Vietnamese pho. I am who I am because of the way immigrants transformed and enriched the culture I grew up in. And so are you. If you like hot sauce, you don't just like multiculturalism. You are multiculturalism. Now, history is filled with tragedy, but it's also our shared human story. And even in some of the darkest corners, like the reality of what Columbus' arrival meant for the people of the Americas, or the misery wrought by European colonialism, we can find spots of light, foundations upon which to build empathy. Hot sauce is one of those slivers of light in the darkness. A condiment from the Americas, introduced by Europeans to Africa and Asia, from where it came back to Europe and the Americas with new twists and new delicious recipes. The story of hot sauce is the story of how multiculturalism and intercultural exchange enrich our lives and transform our world for the better. No holiday is more fraught on these issues of multiculturalism, identity, intercultural exchange than Columbus Day. For some, Columbus Day marks the beginning of people from the old world getting a fresh start in the new. But for many others, Columbus Day represents the beginning of centuries of racism, slavery, and genocide. Now look, Christopher Columbus would be mystified by this holiday. He never even acknowledged that he bumped into a landmass unknown to Europeans. And he wasn't even the first European to do that. Vikings beat him to it. That's right. Christopher Columbus didn't even Columbus the Americas. But he did introduce chilies to the world beyond the Americas. Chilies and hot sauce are a sliver of light in the Columbian exchange, that unparalleled supernova of cultural intermingling that came from the meeting of two long disconnected worlds. All of us today, for better and for worse, are products of that exchange. And what better way to celebrate our world than with hot sauce, the condiment from the Americas that traveled to the far reaches of the earth and back. I say we ditch Columbus Day, and let's celebrate our shared human story by celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day with hot sauce, by eating really spicy food. Thanks.